What's that?
You must be doing a lot of exercises.
Oh, I'm so lazy, Geshe-la. I'm just getting fat in the West.
Buddhist nuns are not supposed to be lazy, no?
Oh, I know.
I'm joking.
That's why I'm a great example of a lazy nun.
Good, good, good. I'm looking.
Geshe-la can show me.
I'm trying to find such an example.
I'm the best. Yes, Geshe-la, in the West, everybody is crazy about running around.
Good, good.
Running, exercising.
Good, 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 good.
Yes. But I guess not only in the West, also in India.
No, everywhere.
But now the air in India gets very thick again, yeah, especially in Delhi.
Yeah, it has been since Diwali. I mean, even before that.
Yeah.
This is the old game, you know, they play every year. Then blame each other, you know. Nobody's solving the problem.
Yes. I've seen a documentary on German TV on that. And there's actually an entrepreneur, a German guy, who wants to buy the straw. You know how the farmers are burning down their fields. So he said, don't burn, give me the straw. And then he makes, what does he make of it? No, I forgot. Oh, I think he makes energy out of that. Power stuff. I have to look it up again. But he wants it really desperately. So, but he says difficult to find people who support him. Yeah, and he wants a big scale. He's ready to get a few factories going. Yeah.
That factory itself will pollute.
Sure. But better than burning down, maybe, to use it.
Maybe.
And then they get money for it instead of, you know. So that is quite attractive. Yeah. I forgot what they make of it. I have to look it up again. I think it's almost time. Yes. So welcome everybody back to Tushita. Thank you so much for joining us. Good afternoon in India. Good evening in Australia. Good morning in the Americas. So we're so happy that you all joined us again. And thank you so much, Geshe Lhakdor, for joining us again. We know you have a very, very busy schedule. Thank you so much, Geshe.
Thank you. To Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge until I achieve enlightenment through my practice of giving and so on. May I become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. So yesterday we read this line which read, rely or keep to a hermitage that is remote, pleasant, and blessed. Okay, the next, rely upon companions who have a harmonious view and conduct and who are trustworthy. Now that means you should make friendship or associate with those who are reliable, whose view and whose conduct are in agreement with yours. That's the meaning. And then in the case of a monastic monk or nun, the monastery or nunnery where they enter, so in that monastery or nunnery, the monks and nuns there are supposed to be similar to your view and your conduct, because you're all monks or all nuns, things like that. So then many of us today, these days, received tantric initiations from, say, His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So in that sense, having received the tantric initiation from the same teacher, we are all Vajra brothers and Vajra sisters. I don't know how many people know about this. So therefore, we should really have, as a Buddhist practitioner and follower of same teacher, we should have same view and same philosophical tenet or conduct behavior. So that is enough to find people with good view and similar view and similar conduct. However, during this time of degeneration, even in the monastery and nunnery, where, as I said, the monks and nuns should have similar view and behavior or conduct like you, but we are living in a time of degeneration. So even among the so-called monks and nuns, there are those who may have adopted that external look of a monk and a nun, but their way of life and their thinking may not conform to your way of thinking and not conform to the teaching, right? So therefore, when we say live with those whose view and conduct are in agreement with you, means those who have positive view and positive way of life, positive conduct in that sense, not in negative sense. Okay, in the negative sense, there are many with whom our views and conducts are similar to them, right? So it is in the sense of good conduct and good thinking. And especially here, it means the view as is taught in the Sublime Dharma, the conduct as is taught in Sublime Dharma, and the view that is taught in Dharma teachings. Not only that, even from the worldly viewpoint, in terms of food habit, in terms of the clothes you wear, and many things, if you have people who are in agreement with your positive ways of life and thinking, it will be very helpful for you to sustain your practice. So therefore, whether we are within the monastery or within the ordinary world, you should associate with those whose ways of thinking and conduct are good and similar or in agreement with you. Okay? Because if you, even in the monastery, if you stay or live with those people whose ways of thinking and conduct are not in agreement, then there will be disagreement. That disagreement might lead even to fighting and division among the community, whether it's monastic or ordinary community. And therefore, even among practitioners, we see people fighting over, which view is better. The Hinayana view is better, or Mahayana view is better, or Tantric view is better. Or among the 4 Tibetan schools, people might say, oh, Nyingma is better, Gelug is better, this is better, that others are not so good, So we use our self-cherishing attitude, and to promote our self-cherishing attitude, we use anything, politics, religion, to divide and to gain their political mileage. Okay? So harmonious view and conduct, and who are trustworthy. Who are trustworthy. Trustworthy means that person should not practice duplicity. There are people who in your face, they are really nice, looks like friendly and also reliable. But behind you, they might say all the nasty things about you. So there is no harmony in their thinking and in their conduct. So there is a duplicity. Okay. So such people are not trustworthy. The third point that is mentioned here is harmonious view and conduct, and who are trustworthy. They should be people who are good to you, in front of you, and who are good also behind you. Especially behind you, they should be good. Okay, in front of you, if there is some agreement, you can discuss and settle, But if people, as we say, step in the back, then it's very difficult. Okay, so do not associate with such people. So in short, you should rely or look or follow those people in the monastery or otherwise who are the best examples in terms of their thinking, in terms of their reliability, and in terms of their conduct. Okay? Because by associating with such people, naturally you will pick up the good habits. Contrarily, if you live with negative people, you will pick up the negative habits. So friend, for ordinary people, friend is very, very important. Very, very important. You pick up if your friend is a chain smoker, you may not be a smoker, but gradually you will pick up that habit. Your friend is a player, you might become a player, right? So friend is extremely, extremely important, okay? Even in the monastery, there are people who are unable to stay properly, who are unable to meditate, who are unable to study. All they do is just roam around, go around. On every, available opportunity, they will go for this trekking, that trekking, right? So, they may not just get hold of your leg and pull you down, but because of your association with their not so healthy behavior, you will become bad to worse. We do see some people, who initially were quite, lazy and not hardworking, and their manner also not so good. But when they get associated with good friends, then within short time you can see the change in them. Their education is better, their manner is better. Similarly, there are people who, generally speaking, quite good, but when they associate with the wrong people, then within very short time, that person also become a bad person, right? We are ordinary people, we are not enlightened, okay? So we have to be very, very careful with whom we are associating. So in short, as is said by the Bodhisattva Thomasam in his 37 Bodhisattva practices, the way to find out whether that friend is good or bad is that by associating with somebody, if your faults decrease and your positive qualities increase like a waxing moon, then that is a clear indication you are associating with a very good friend. So cherish that friend. Contrarily, when you associate with somebody, if your 3 poisons increase and your study, contemplation, meditation decreases, and gradually you become a person with less or no love, no compassion, then that means you're associating with a bad friend. So bad friend will not come with a horrible, long horn or wearing black cloth and bearing the fangs, just like snakes. No, they will not come like that. They will also come to you as a very nice friend. They will say, please come, let us go for, dancing, let us go for singing, let us go for nightclub. Don't worry about the money. I look after all the money. Things. So they're also, they look very nice. And you get completely entrapped by those entertaining invitations. You go to those entertaining places and you gradually get addicted to that, right? Then you will gradually become a gambler or a heavy drinker, things like that. So we have to be very, very careful, very careful. We are very easily duped by the surrounding, the friends and people with whom we associate, right? So therefore, in order to help you become a stable person who can make choices for oneself, it is important to reflect, meditate for a long time and see the pros and cons. Until we reach that point, it is very easy to slip and go downhill. So that's what he's saying. Keep moderation, remembering that too many articles to sustain life can involve unwholesome deeds. So this line is saying, according to my translation, you should see the faults and shortcomings of the articles and things that you use for your livelihood, and you should have moderation. You should be temperate in everything. As we read in the preceding line, that in this way, when you stay in a monastery and associate with monks who observe pure vows, and then we engage in practice, Dharma practice, here also, you need to use certain articles, certain facilities, not for a short time, but you always have to depend on certain facilities, certain articles. And without, for example, using food and clothing and so forth, you will die. And if you die, then of course you can't practice Dharma. So you need to rely on these facilities, but therefore you should know how to use those facilities. Now, number one, livelihood. For your livelihood, livelihood here means, for your livelihood, you need to take food, right? That makes you remain alive. And articles here means the necessary facilities that you need. So when you use that, remember their shortcomings. For example, in the case of monks and nuns, whatever things we are using, in many cases, most of them are offerings made by people. When the offerings come after a lot of hard work by many people. So without thinking that, if you just continue to consume without hesitation and waste food, for example, during dinner or lunchtime, you put so much on the plate because of lack of mindfulness and greed, and then you are unable to eat even the half and then throw the half. Even small things like that, right? So in the case of monks and nuns, if you are essentially totally dedicated in Dharma practice, there is no other way but you rely on the offerings. But you need to be mindful and not to waste those offerings. And if you engage in your practice sincerely, then you can digest those offerings. But if you don't do that, then as the Buddha said, it's like eating a molten iron, hot iron ball, which will burn you inside. Okay. Okay. So with the motivation, pure motivation, you should be moderate and temperate in your food and whatever you enjoy, and make sure that it is not wasted. And then, of course, if you think in detail, for example, if you're eating momo, for example, then how did this meat dumpling or momo came on your plate? Who prepared it? The materials that is being used and so forth. If you trace it, it's related to hard work of many people. So remember that. Remember their kindness. Okay. For example, this momo actually came from the wheat, which is grown in the field. Somebody has to cultivate it. Somebody has to look after it, right? Then after you have reaped the crop, then you have to dry it. Then you have to crush it, right? Then you have to put in a sack. Then you need to stitch it with the needles and things like that. And then the caretakers of the monastery, whoever has to go to the market to buy it, getting it on their back, and then putting it in the store, and then giving it to the cook. then the cook has to, cook it and so forth. It takes a long time to reach it on your plate. So don't just devour things without thinking about all these processes, without remembering the kindness of other people. Okay. So that's why Nagarjuna in his letter to the friends says that the food you eat should be seen as a medicine. Now take the example of medicine. You will not consume a stomach full of medicine, right? You will just take the dose which is really needed and useful for you. And especially these days, many people get sick, not because of lack of food. Of course, there are many who die because of lack of food, but there are many who get sick not because of lack of food, but because of too much overeating and eating the wrong food and so forth, right? So therefore, we need to remember that, see food as a medicine and use it without attachment, without hatred, and without, consuming it so that you become a wrestler or a person with, muscles and things like that. Okay. And then with the articles that we use, for example, the cloth we use, it should not be like the cloth of a king, made out of brocade and silver and things like that. Many rich people these days wear things like that. I was told that some of their mobile phones are also covered with gold and silver and things like that, right? And then the stairs are also made of silver and gold. There's no limit to craziness, madness. We are already we are living in confusion. So we confuse more and get more confused with the material facilities. So therefore, as the Buddha suggested, in terms of your food, in terms of your clothing, in terms of your philosophy or view, it should be the middle way. So your clothes should not be like a king, and also it should not be like a beggar's cloth, torn out and things like that. That is ordinarily speaking, okay? If you're somebody who doesn't care at all, if it's okay with thrown out clothes, that is also okay, right? But otherwise, it should not be too luxurious. It should not be too bad or too poor, okay? So we're all supposed to be the follower of the Buddha. So to make a long story short, we should act like the Buddha. What is his teaching in terms of clothing, in terms of food and so forth? And instead of understanding that, if you misuse the offerings by other people and live like a king, I'm sorry to say there are people like that, okay, who in the name of Dharma beg other people for this project, that project. Then at the end, they may be dwelling in a luxurious, almost like a palace, unfortunately. They preach simplicity, but they themselves wallow in luxury from the money and through offering things like that, which is really, really not good. Okay. And for them, of course, this is, collecting the causes to be born in the hell. And in this life also, you really become, through that way of life, you're becoming somebody who is destroying the Buddha's teaching. Okay. Next. Keep to the oral instructions of the lineage of accomplished masters without prejudice. So this means you should rely upon all the pith instructions without sectarianism, without bias, so long as that lineage or teaching with instruction is coming from highly accomplished masters. As I mentioned earlier, we have this biased attitude. If you are Gelugpa, you might think, okay, the Gelugpa teachings are the only thing that's available in the world. No need to read texts from Kajuba or Satyaba or Nyingmaba. The others also probably think like that, which is not very healthy. So therefore, here you need to know the meaning of non-sectarianism. There are primarily, I think, two meanings of non-sectarianism. One is, if you are unable to study all the texts from other schools. It's fine. You concentrate and study your own, teachings and texts, but at the same time, develop respect to others. There's one way of remaining sectarianism. Another way of non-sectarianism. Another way of non-sectarianism is that you should study the texts of other schools also. Like, for example, we are right now studying Gambopa's text. And you can see yourself the amazing instruction. And Gambopa is a highly accomplished master. An accomplished master gives the teaching, writes the text based on his or her own experience. They are not just groping in the darkness, right? So it's really like a gold mine. It's gold mine. I was completely kind of wonderstruck when I started reading some of the Gambopa's texts. So like that, right? So it is not like many so-called teachers like me and others who just read a book and explain it. Because these people have spent their whole life amidst the mountain contemplating and thinking, and so they have this, and then that they also kept that lineage coming from Marba or Tiloba, whatever, It's amazing experiences. So we should not be sectarianism and try to get those pith instructions coming from all these highly accomplished masters, right? We can always learn many things from other schools, other traditions, not only among Buddhist schools, but also just like we are learning from science, right? So similarly, from other philosophies and traditions, you can learn. And especially according to Buddhism, out of the two, explaining the Dharma and practicing the Dharma, out of these two, the one that is much more important is not talking, not teaching, but practicing. You will remember right in the beginning, I mentioned the meaning of this, kagyu. That means a lineage of practicing lineage. That's what Milarepa did. That's what Gambopa did. Not so much talking, primarily practicing. So that this area is an area where we really need to focus. Based on my own experience, what is most difficult is to really dedicate your time and practice. Not just talk about compassion, but to develop compassion in your mind, in your heart. That's very difficult, right? So if you're able to develop even one quality, not fully, but to a great extent, that will completely make you shine out in terms of your spiritual accomplishment. This is what Nagarjuna said repeatedly, after giving a lengthy discourse, writing a book, big book, then at the end he would say, okay, I don't think you can practice all this, especially in the case of the king who is so busy. But out of this, if you undertake one practice sincerely, honestly, it will make a lot of difference in you and in other people. You can change, you can transform. So unless you transform, unless you cultivate these qualities within yourself, when just by reading, perhaps a little bit better than nothing, but nothing much. Let me tell you this story. There was at one time, there was a gentleman who was actually a herdsman. He was somebody's servant. And every morning and evening, he used to count the number of sheep that he used to look after. Then somebody who is not so familiar with this person, he came and said, you must be very rich. Every morning you're counting all this, sheep, and evening also you're counting all this. Then he said, no, I don't have even one sheep. This all belongs to my master. I'm a beggar. So similarly, we are just like this man counting the sheep we also keep on counting bodhicitta, compassion, loving kindness, wisdom realizing emptiness. How many times we repeated these words? Forget about actually cultivating these inner qualities. Still, we don't even know properly the meaning of compassion, the meaning of wisdom realizing emptiness, and the process of cultivating them. Right? And we continue to remain the same stubborn, unchanging person. Right? We might say, oh, I've been practicing Buddhism for the last 20, 30 years. When we say that, people might laugh at us by saying, okay, then what is the use of your practice? You are the same person like before. You are still angry. कुछ भी नहीं बदला है. No change at all. So that should not be there. At least there should be some visible changes. Your anger should be a little bit less. Your emotions should be a little bit regulated. Your attachment should be a little bit less. So there must be there. There must be there. Your patience and tolerance must be there. Right? So therefore we should really show respect to others, learn to listen more, and learn to talk less, right? If somebody is saying all the bad things about you, then don't feel disturbed. Because this shows that person's behavior and conduct, not your conduct and behavior. If somebody is saying negative things, disturbing things, then that shows the nature of that person, not you. So don't feel hurt. Don't get hurt. Right? Unless you give opportunity for other people, nobody can hurt you. Normally, we become vulnerable and susceptible because we present ourselves as a target, especially as a fragile target. Then whatever other people say, we feel hurt. Whatever other people do, we feel hurt. Because you are giving them opportunity. So don't be an accomplice to the wrongdoings of other people. It's very, very important. Okay? So in order to receive the deep instruction from these highly accomplished masters, it is important not to take sides, not to be biased. In today's world, there are so many people who are biased. Some people are just for men, some people are just for women, some people are just for black, some people are just for white, some people are just for monks, some people are just for lay people. And you divide, then fights each other and finding the faults of each other. You see, the reason that we need to understand or realize emptiness is when you realize the emptiness, then we are able to see the sameness of everybody. There's no division. Those who don't understand that big picture, then only thing we know is division. Your making division itself shows your narrow-mindedness. Because your mind is so small, your mind can't digest the big picture, the sameness. Right? To you, you are the most important person. You are in the center of the world. This is how we act. And because of this self-cherishing attitude, we get all kinds of illnesses, sicknesses, problems, and difficulties. The more you relax that tight holding upon yourself, the more you open the inner door, the more you will feel free. Therefore, the focus of all the teachings of the Buddha is how to reduce self-cherishing attitude, how to reduce ignorance, and contrarily, how to cultivate bodhicitta and how to cultivate wisdom realizing emptiness. So if you don't practice and just keep on dividing, then your dharma practice, your religious practice is not similar to the practice of communism, which is also very good in making the propaganda, which is also very good in silencing other people, which is also very good in exploiting other people. So we have to be very careful. We have to be very careful. Especially in the beginning, when we are not mentally prepared, mentally not strong, then you should try to copy the good examples, not imbibe the bad qualities, because bad qualities will stick to you very easily. Because just like dust is everywhere, wherever you sit, dust will stick to your body, but you don't see much gold around, right? Okay. So in the beginning, if you really focus on Dharma practice, then spend more time on Dharma practice, and also don't read too many other books, especially for entertainment and things like that, because that will lead to corruption of your wisdom. Your wisdom will get corrupted. In some monasteries where there is a strict rule, not allowing people to read, books on war, conflict, healing, or desire, attachment, things like that. So unfortunately, in today's world, those books which are on fighting, killing, or on sex, they are very popular. Even a fiction has that topic. Even when you watch a movie, it is basically violence and sex. If these two are not there, then that movie is not very attractive. And these movies are basically reflection of our own way of life. In our own way of life, if we engage in a little bit harsh, violent ways of life, a little bit quarreling, fighting with each other, then you think you are the real man, the powerful one, right? Then also attachment, and desire, and sex. Without that, the life looks colorful. But the truth is that when you engage in such negative activities, you may look colorful right now in the parlance of ordinary people. But in this way of life, as we all know, there is too much ups and downs because of your using violence and attachment and so forth. On certain days, you're too happy to get excited, you almost burst out. On other days, you are so down that you completely get deflated. The less you have these negative emotions, your life may not be so colorful to the ordinary parlance, but your life will be stable. Every day it will be same, peaceful, tranquil, not too much ups and downs. Ups and downs lead to blood pressure rising and things like that, heart attack and things like that. So those things will not be there. Right? So it's important to keep your head cool and your heart calm. Right? And especially if you look at today's world, there's so much flooding of information. And those information are now readily made available on all kinds of technological medias. Even when you are in your house, your mobile phone will not let you sit still. It is almost, for some people, almost every minute, there's a ping, pong, ting, pong, and then you have to again see what is there, nothing useful. So especially young people, you see these days, young people, they're just feeling, it is like almost like their baby. Now in big countries like India, I was told that many millions of young people, their eyesight is already very bad because of constantly watching those things on that small screen. So that is the thing. And the worst thing then that is that it never gives an opportunity to remain calm and to look within yourself and develop the inner qualities. It's very, very destructive. Very, very destructive. right? So therefore, what I was saying is this so-called information that you get on the mobile phone is basically business informations. You buy this, buy that, housings are so cheap, flight is so cheap. Nowadays, you get all these messages that if you want, tomato will come to your room, vegetables will come to your room. I mean, 100,000 kind of, in a way, yes. If you know how to use it properly, yes, there are some benefits, right? So what we need is not just information. We need knowledge. And more than the knowledge, we need wisdom. So in today's world, there's not much wisdom. At the most, you get some knowledge. Information, as I said, much of the information is junk information. So how can you afford to try to understand all this information, which are mostly junk information? You are just completely wasting your life, right? I'm not saying don't use mobile phone and things like that. If you know how to use things properly, it will be useful, beneficial. If you don't know how to use it properly, or if you misuse it, even religion is destructive, right? So therefore, it is really, really important to use all these medias and facilities to help you become peaceful, calm, and helping to others. It's important. Now, next is keep to what is of benefit for both yourself and others with regard to material things, medicines, mantras, and profound causation. So that means those things which are beneficial to you and to others, whether it's a material object, or it is medicine, or it is mantra, or it's profound dependent relation, you should employ it if it is useful. Okay? Useful means the basic necessities, or possible long-term happiness, not for immediate entertainment and pleasure. Okay? So that means when you are actually practicing that pit instruction that we have discussed in the preceding lines, you need to know how to practice. You cannot just push yourself to the limit in the name of doing Dharma practice, right? So do not torture your body unnecessarily. Some people, they may be determined to do Dharma practice, but they don't know the technique, so they might, push themselves to the limit. And instead of being able to do Dharma practice, they might get sick because they don't care about the food, they don't care about their health, don't care about their exercise, don't care about the rest, right? So if you do that, then you are destroying this precious human life. This precious human life, we use the word precious human life, which has these 5 elements. It's very difficult to obtain, right? So it is by making this precious human life live long that you hope to cultivate the needed religious experiences and realizations, right? So therefore, from that point of view, it is good to live long. Okay? So therefore, he is saying in this context, it is important to use those material substances and medicine and so forth, which is good for you and good for others. Right? For example, if you want to keep a butter lamp alive, to remove the darkness for a long time, then you need to aid the supporting facilities, put more oil, make sure the wick is strong enough, things like that. And if these facilitating factors are not there, you cannot just push the butter lamp to burn without oil and without having a strong wick, right? You cannot just by pray make that bottle lamp stay long. So don't just push yourself, but cultivate the supporting factors. So relying on profound material substances. Actually, I think we should read like this. Rely on profound material substances, profound medicine, profound mantra, profound dependent origination. Okay. So here in this case, profound material substance means what is explained in the Tantra, where there are certain attainments in which you use some of the articles to prolong your life, to become a knowledge holder. Okay. And even these days, like for example, to help you read your scripture, instead of burning a butter lamp, it is much better to put on the light. So whatever is helpful for you to help your practice, you should use that. Okay. So you will understand. I'm not going to go into deep. And then relying on profound medicine means that, ordinarily speaking, there are good Tibetan medicines, good Ayurvedic and allopathic medicines. So when you are not well, getting sick, then you should find a good physician and get the good medicine, good treatment. You have to be a little bit careful these days, especially, of course, it depends on places. In some places, the doctors are also not nice. They are doing business, right? So you need to be a little bit careful. The most important thing is, if possible, live your life in such a way so that you don't have to eat medicine, don't have to depend on doctors. If you have to depend on doctors and eat medicine, then you're already a little bit late. Because time has changed. Nowadays, all these countless pills and tablets that you see, I'm not sure how good many of these are. It's really risky. As I said, of course, it depends on where the medicine is produced, things like that. But we need to be really, really careful. Okay. So even in the case of Dharma practitioner, it is stupid to say that I'm Dharma practitioner. I don't care about medicine. I don't care about doctor. If it is good for me, die. Like that. If you die, then you are stupid. That's not the meaning. The meaning is you should be able to undergo hardship, but not unnecessarily. Especially when your mind is not determined, when your body is not ready. Okay. So therefore, we should use medicine when it is necessary. And the Buddha himself said, advised the monks to rely on medicine when they get sick. And he even went to the extent of saying that, for example, if that monk or nun doesn't have that money to buy the medicine, then they can even sell some of the offerings to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Meaning that you should really take care of yourself. And then relying on profound mantra. That means through certain tantric retreat, a recitation of mantra, you can really prolong your life and make you free from illness. And you can also actualize many common feats, common accomplishments. Now these days, the problem is we don't have much faith in anything. That's the problem. Otherwise, if you read, for example, the story of Tara, or story of the medicinal Buddha, or story of Avalokiteshvara, these mantras are extremely, extremely powerful. Therefore, the text is they say that the power of mantra is unthinkable. The power of material substance is unthinkable. The power of meditative stabilization is unthinkable. And the power of karma is unthinkable. So they have the power. But when we do the practice, we are distracted, we don't have much faith, we don't know how to visualize properly all these deities, right? So with half-hearted practice, the result will also be like that. And then rely on profound dependent relation. Now, the Tibetan, if I translate this word, it's like dependent relation, but in this translation, it says profound causation. So this word Tendel has been translated as auspiciousness also. So this basically means whatever activities you are doing, you're going somewhere or constructing a building, you should consult the astrological findings, whether that day for the journey is good or not good, or whether that earth where, the ground where you are going to do the construction is good or not, whether the relation that you are making with that particular teacher is good or not. These things should also be examined before you make the connection, right? So you should not just randomly start everything, right? So to me, this means you should be careful. More or less, you should be careful before you make the connection, before you make the journey, right? So that's my understanding. You should be careful, right? Otherwise, of course, when you are born in this world, you did not come into this world by making astrological calculations. Whether the day when you are going to take birth is good or not, you have no choice to consult that. When you die also, the day of your death cannot be consulted before. You can die anytime, right? So that makes you think, okay, if that is the case, why so much fuss in between? Right? So therefore, I'm interpreting this by saying that whatever you are doing, examine, prepare, plan. All right? Unless you plan, prepare, forget about the situations of the stars and so forth. You may go to the airport without taking your flight ticket, right? Then you get into big problem. So something like that, you should really plan well. Okay. Keep to food and the path of means that is in harmony with your physical constitution. So that means the food you eat, the various ways and means that you employ, that should be suitable to your nature, suitable to your element, physical constituent. Now, for some people, oil is not good. For some people, oil is okay. For some people, peanut is not good. Many people are allergic to peanut, and it might even kill them, you see. So that means depending upon your physical constituent, you need to know what is good for you, what is not good for you, right? It's important. Again, analyze what you are eating and what kind of ways and means that you are employing, right? It's really important. Based on my own experience, sometimes because of having no awareness, I may eat something. Then around in the evening, sometimes I feel lazy or sometimes I get headache and things like that. Many a times when you experience such like, those things, then if you simply examine what did you eat in the morning or lunch and things like, sometimes you will find, not always, sometimes you are able to pinpoint, oh, because I use this oil. I use this old food? You can find out. So therefore, that's why we say that old sick people are better than a skilled doctor, because you know yourself much better than the doctor in some sense. The only thing is you are not taking care of yourself. You are not paying attention. That's why you repeatedly fall sick. So therefore, it is really important to see what is suitable to you, what is not suitable to you. Okay? So basically, this is talking about taking good care of your health. Do not eat anything because you like to eat it. If chocolate is not good for you, don't say, I like this chocolate and eat it. Right? There are many people who know that the chocolate is not good, but they say, oh, I just like the taste. Right? Then some people, they just before going to bed, they take a strong cup of coffee or other things, then whole night they wake up having problem, not being able to sleep, things like that. We all have that experience. So learn from those experiences. Then there are some other things which you need to be careful. Like, for example, if you drink a wine or something, it may not make you sick immediately. You might even relish the taste also, right? But if you gradually get habituated with that, then it will ruin your health. So from that point of view, you should see what kind of foods and drinks are good for you temporarily, in the long run, and so forth. Okay? So for a small thing, don't sacrifice the big thing. And it is because of this the Buddha said, my followers should not drink liquor whose amount is just a blade of grass can hold. Even that small amount, one should not drink it. So one should rely on food and skillful path. Skillful path here means skillful path that is used in the tantric practice. Skillful path where you use your channels, where you manipulate your physical energies, and where you undertake physical exercises. So here in this case also, you should see whether these methods are useful for you or not. For example, if you are quite young and free from any sickness, then you may be able to do all this physical exercise and using the energy and the regenerative fluid and so forth. But when you become older, and also if you are not well sick, then many of these exercises and many of these methods may not be very reliable. So even these practices, if you have the PT instruction, if your body is reliable and fit, then you should do it, and otherwise not do it, right? For example, in the tantric practice, we have this practice called holding the vast wind, right? You breathe in and then also breathe from the bottom and then hold the breath around this place of the navel. So that holding the breath also may be good for many, but not good for others who have physical illnesses. So therefore, in the Buddhist practice, many of these tantric yogic practices are not taught openly. Whereas these days, there are many yoga teachers who teach all this openly. So I don't know how much benefit or how much harm it is doing. But at least in the Buddhist practice, this should be taught very carefully. I mean, especially in the case of the the Mahamudra, the Kagyu practice, they suggest that use the energy, the soft energy, not the rough or tough energy, right? So that will be useful for your prolonging life and being free from illness and so forth. Okay. Now in Buddhism, this kind of practices are not widely available, because in the Buddhist practice, the main focus is the monastic discipline. And it is repeatedly emphasized not to make a show of one's practices, right? For example, even if you're somebody who has clairvoyance and precognition, you're not supposed to publicly declare it. All your qualities should be kept within oneself, like a butter lamp burning inside a pot. The knowledge is there, the qualifications there, but it is not advertised. But these days, people don't have that real inner light, but it's all the time advertised. I go to a yoga center and learn 10 yoga exercises, then I start teaching. Make money, right? Next, keep to spiritual practices and behavior that help your experience. So whether it's your dharma practice or whether it's your conduct, undertake those practices, undertake those conducts which is useful for your experience, personal experience. So that means in the preceding line, we discussed about the need to rely on food and methods which are suitable to your body. So now this line is saying that not only that, you should engage in listening, meditation that is beneficial for gaining mental experience. Okay, so therefore, whatever experiences you have that came through listening, that came through thinking, that came through meditation, and whatever is beneficial to those experiences, like dharma or conduct, which are beneficial to further strengthen those experiences, rely on that. So that means if your focus is primarily on study, focus more on study, not so much on meditation. There are people who, when it is their time to study, they talk about tantric practice, they talk about meditation, and don't do proper study. So that is, in a way, distraction, and that will not help develop your experience. Okay? Because at the end of the day, whatever you are practicing, if it is not beneficial to your experience, then the dharma itself may be very profound, but it will not be of much benefit to you. And in this way, if your mind is not very peaceful and not well, then it will be difficult for you to develop experience and realizations of calm abiding, special insight, and so forth. Okay. And then after that, it says that in this way, first you rely on a sublime teacher, then go to a place of isolation, and then through that way, if you are able to gradually develop that experience and realization, then you yourself will become a teacher. You yourself will become a lama. And at that time, how should you look after your students? What kind of students you should get? This is explained in the next verse. Give to disciples who are worthy, trusting, and respectful. So when you yourself become a teacher or a lama, then you should have those students who have faith, who have veneration, and who are fortunate. Now, faith and veneration here means that the student should have faith to the teaching and also faith to the Lama. In other words, faith means faith through your mind. Veneration means veneration through your body. Physically also you show those signs of respect and veneration. And when you have that mental faith and physical veneration, then you will be able to keep in your mind the meaning of the teaching that is taught by the teacher. And then you will get the benefit. Then you become the fortunate one. Okay? So such a student should be looked after. Contrarily, if the student has no faith, no respect, no veneration, then even if you continue to teach to that person, it will not benefit that person, that student. And then in that case, your Dharma talk becomes just another gossip. Okay? And wastage of time. Like, for example, what we are discussing right now. If the listeners don't pay attention and the teacher also don't pay attention, then we are just wasting our time. Right? एक हाथ से ताली नहीं बजता बोलता है ना in Hindi. You cannot clap with just one hand. The teacher should have a motivation to benefit students. The students should also have that respect and veneration to the teaching and the teacher and listen to it with great delight and joy. Then the meaning of the teaching will stay in your mind, not otherwise. So therefore, it's important to judge that relationship between the teacher and the students. Then always keep mindful and conscientious during the 4 daily activities. So this means 4 daily activities means whether you are walking somewhere, or you are sitting, or you are sleeping, or you are just doing some short walking. In all these 4 activities, what is important is you should maintain continuously your mindfulness and conscientiousness. Now, this is very, very important. Most of us, whatever we do, we don't have mindfulness, we don't have conscientiousness. So you should, that's why, in certain Theravada practice, they have this walking meditation, sitting meditation, and so forth. This is supposed to help you cultivate that mindfulness in all your activities. If you're going to a market, you should be aware that I'm going to the market. You should know why you are going, what is your purpose, who you are meeting, what was the road like, whatever, Go with open eyes, more importantly, with open mind. Then everything is learning. Everything is a learning. Right? So there's one meaning. The another meaning, more important meaning, is that wherever you are going, you should remember the key practices. Otherwise, we get immediately distracted by the external surroundings, right? And we forget our main practice. So therefore, maintain mindfulness and conscientiousness. And that's why Shanti Deva in his Bodhicharya Avatara requests with folded hand that please, those of you who want to protect the mind must protect mindfulness and conscientiousness. With my folded hands, I'm requesting you. Right? So he taught with such importance. Because unless you continuously maintain mindfulness and continuously, explore your own errors and mistakes, then in the manner of a religious practitioner, you might commit irreligious activities. Therefore, to always examine one's mistakes, and then abandoning it is the practice of Bodhisattva. We may act as a Dharma practitioner, we may act as a monk and a nun, but as an ordinary person, a beginner, we may slip into our old die-hard habit and make all the mistakes. So that practice of giving up wrong deeds should be done through one's own mindfulness and conscientiousness. If you are to be, if somebody else has to point out your mistake, you may not listen to it. You might get angry. Who are you to find my fault, you see? So before other people find your fault, you should find your own fault and rectify them. You should become your own teacher. In Buddhist texts, we talk about two types of teachers, external teacher and internal teacher. So you should have those internal tutors, mindfulness, conscientiousness, compassion, and so forth. Your external tutors or teachers cannot be with you all the time. So therefore, you must maintain these practices. That means to judge whether your activities are in conformity with the Dharma teaching or not. Okay. The last line. This word, oh, sorry. No, this Harsha. Okay, so we stop here today. I think time is also over.
Thank you so much, Geshe. Does anybody have a question? We have one left from yesterday, Geshe. That was in the chat. And Geshe said yesterday, when one meditates, that the place is quite important. There's blessed places and maybe not so conducive places. So the person asked if the place has an impact on one's mind in general. So not just when meditating, but in general.
Yes, as I mentioned, with the example of certain places where there has been a lot of killing, and then the meditator's mind become very lousy or unclear. I gave some examples yesterday, right? Yeah, so what we call is this vibration, bad energy. One very easy way to know is, when you meet some people, who you may be meeting for the first time, but when you meet some people, you feel like talking to them because of past life karmic connection or good vibration, whatever you call it. Some people, again, meeting for the first time, you don't feel like talking to that person. You feel uneasy, right? So that is kind of energy which is not suitable to you. So similarly, in the place also, it is possible to have like that. So basically, the place should be free from disturbance because our mind is already disturbed, our monkey mind. So in addition to your monkey mind, disturbed mind, if you also live in a place which is also disturbing, then how can you meditate? The very meaning of morality means to have a mind which is calm, free from many disturbing thoughts, right? But if you live in a place or surrounded by people who are very noisy, very, very disturbing, then you cannot practice morality. You cannot keep your mind calm. And your mind, if your mind is not calm, how can you concentrate? How can you meditate? Right? If you want even more concrete example, then I'll give you this example of yourself going amidst people who are fighting or shooting at each other. Can you meditate there? Not even if not shooting, but if people are yelling and fighting each other, can you go there and meditate? Not possible. But if you join other people who are also meditating and sitting calm, yes, you can, because that is a more conducive environment. Okay. Okay. Next yellow line, yellow hand.
Next one is Jackie.
Okay.
Jackie, could you please unmute?
Thank you for your teachings. I was wondering if you could expand on the sameness of everyone that you spoke about.
Sameness, I don't exactly know this word, whether you should use sameness or not, but the meaning there is you are endeavoring to do practice. You are making effort to practice morality, to practice meditation, to develop wisdom, to develop compassion, to develop love, and so forth. Right? So therefore, the people who you associate, who you live with, should also be of those type. That's the meaning.
Oh, I meant more, you mentioned once you understand emptiness and there is no division.
Okay. Yeah. That I already explained the day before. It's like emptiness is like the space.
Okay.
There's no division.
Sorry, I didn't understand earlier. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, next question.
Next one is Christine. Christine, could you please unmute?
Hello. I wonder if you could just explain a little what is meant by the term time of degeneration, please.
Time of degeneration means when people live short life, when people's negative emotions are much more stronger, and when other sentient beings are also, they are angry or depressed or, having many more problems. And also the period which we are living is not so healthy, a lot of fighting.
Is that down to like a specific century, a specific time that's been identified, or is it just
I don't remember.
down to the...
Yeah, there is a time. I don't remember. But this time is said to be that time of degeneration. But I don't remember right now from what time it started and when it's going to finish. I don't remember.
Right. Okay, thank you.
All right, next.
Thupten Jamchopla, could you please unmute?
Yes, thank you very much, Geshe, once again for all your teachings. I wish they continue to the end of the text, but considering the fact that we may not be able to finish the whole text, I just wanted to ask you if there is any good commentary that one can refer to for any parts that we want to study in more detail later on.
There is a Tibetan commentary which I'm using right now, but I don't think there's any English commentary. There may be, I don't know.
Okay.
If you try to find out from some centers of the Kajuba lineage or some monasteries, they may be able to tell you, but I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, Geshe. Just one more question I had, if time permits. You mentioned about the fact that we need to use our mind and energy very wisely so that we are able to live our life to our optimum potential. But sometimes, by nature or by past karma, whatever be the reason, some people are very overthinking. They keep thinking about past. They keep thinking about, who did what, how things happened. And, instead of focusing on future, we get stuck in our past memories and emotions.
Yeah.
It becomes a lot of, baggage on the mind.
Yeah.
What's your advice for such a condition from a Buddhist perspective?
I think they should open up a little more. And I think they should be a little bit like more open and playful. Don't enjoy the life, right? Take life not too seriously. have fun, something like that.
Okay.
Okay. Then your that pensive mood, just keep on thinking on something deep, that will dissipate.
Okay.
Okay. Then once your mind becomes more serviceable and pliable, then you can choose certain subjects to concentrate. Right?
Right, Geshe-la.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Then the most important thing is what the Buddha suggested, when he, as I mentioned earlier, when Buddha was asked about these 14 questions, when did the universe start? What will be the end of the universe and things like that? He did not answer. He said, this is irrelevant to, removing my sufferings. So similarly, in the case of that person also, he should think, why you're thinking too much? How that thinking too much is going to help you, you see? It will cultivate more and more discursive thoughts, which is not going to solve any problem. So there's not much point. Yes, I understand that maybe that person's habit, but it can be changed. Yeah.
Right, Geshe-la. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay.
Next one is Ili.
All right, and thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you, how can I help my son, my wonderful son? He's a soldier. He must be a soldier because it's by law.
I know.
He's holding a gun. He never used it, but he's holding a gun.
Yeah.
And he's a very wonderful human being, full of compassion, love, and
yeah.
So I'm sometimes almost become crazy about the places he stays and the things he's watching, but I know he's helping a lot of his soldiers because he has a command. So is it something that I can do to help him?
Yeah, this is a complicated.
To help his karma.
Yeah, this is a little bit complicated question because in Israel, I suppose you are from Israel, right? So in Israel, everybody has to join army, even the women has to join army. But I don't think they have to remain as an army throughout their life. Yeah, so if he thinks or if you think that army, work is in the long run not so good, then for a certain period you have to go as is the rule of the government. Then after that you do some other things, not continue with the army job, you see. So that's one way of seeing things. The other way is, even while remaining as an army, if that is what you are compelled to do, then still, as you mentioned, which is very good, that person should still be compassionate and use his arms and etc. only as a last resort. Otherwise, whoever that he is dealing with, as much as possible, try to maintain that feeling of same human being and bring more harmony rather than more division, whatever is within one's capacity, right? Then the other way, the main solution is, in life, there are many things we have no control. Okay. For example, I wish I never die. Even if I don't go to army, I will die. When? Not so sure. Some people live in army, they fight so many wars and they never die. Some people just don't go army, stay in their nice room, but they die in their bedroom. So there is no certainty, there's no certainty. Well, we can make some choices, but the bigger picture is you need to remember this Shanti Deva's teaching, where he said that if it is something you can change, don't worry because you can change it. If it is something you can't change it, no use worrying because by worrying you can't change it. So do the best as much as possible. Leave the result to the God, as we say.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Next one is Aman. Amanji, can you please unmute?
So Geshe-la, thank you so much for the teaching.
Thank you.
When meditating on this precious human life and seeing that, okay, we've been given this body, this mind, and this environment, I also see that it is so much suffering has been the cause of all of this. Like there's been war, there's been violence, there's been fear that has been also caused this environment, body and mind. Even if it is currently very positive and beautiful, but the cause has also been equally violent. So how am I supposed to cherish this precious human life?
So, as we have been discussing, all the problems and difficulties, that we see in the world is because of ignorance and negative emotions. But that does not mean to say negative emotions cannot be reduced, cannot be lessened. So there, forget about our being able to change the whole world, in a short time. Take oneself as an example and see whether you can reduce your negative emotions or not, whether you can reduce your anger or not. Yes, you can. And what impact that will make? You will be happier. And the people who live in your surrounding will be happier. So that is how we create that ripple effect. However small it is going to make impact and benefit many people. So that's the only way. So that's why we need to really educate people, especially the younger generation. Not only like getting some kind of education so that they later are able to get a job and earn money, but how to become a good, kind, compassionate human being. This is the most important thing. And as I had repeatedly mentioned, if you're really able to develop some of these inner qualities, whatever be the situation, whether the situation is turbulent, whatever it is, still you can maintain good level of mental calmness and kindness. That's important. That is possible. That is within our reach. And then if you, as some of the Buddhist teachers say, in their prayer, it's very interesting prayer. In some of the prayers, they say, if I'm going to die tomorrow, wonderful. You see? They would say, if I'm going to die tomorrow, wonderful. Why wonderful? Not because they are pessimistic. They are saying, if I'm going to die tomorrow, wonderful, because I'm not going to continue to live creating misery and suffering upon other people. Okay. And then if I'm not going to die tomorrow, but going to live a long, long life, wonderful. Because then I live a long, long life and continue to help and benefit many other people. So people with such a correct mental attitude, whether you live, it's fine. Whether you die, it's fine. You see, not because you are pessimistic and desperate and want to die. Not in that sense. You take good care of yourself. Then something happens. Okay, good. The important thing is in your day-to-day life, maintain calmness, kindness. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Geshe.
Thank you.
Geshe, there is one question in the chat. The relevance of Buddha and his teaching is increasing today. Is it necessary to propagate Buddha's teachings more? And does Tushita have any plans for it? In our place, there are no Buddhist practitioners. How can I find a mentor?
Now, these days, distance is not a big problem because now you're also attending this online teaching. So you can, in fact, choose many teachers and get many online teachers. So listen to those teachings. And then this English word, propagate, I don't know it's a positive or negative, but make the teaching available, that's fine. Make the core teaching, the fundamental teachings of Buddhism available, because the fundamental teachings of Buddha is basically more or less secular. It's for everybody. There are certain dogmas, philosophies, which may not be for the time being relevant to many other people, but the messages on love, on kindness, on using the wisdom, concept of dependent origination, interdependent origination, patience, forgiveness. These are all, more or less secular. So we can share it. But we should not try to convert other people to become Buddhists. That is wrong. Let other people do whatever they want. The important thing is really not so much about whether you are Buddhist or Christian or Jews. The important thing is you should become a good human being. Because when we think about changing the world cannot be changed by religion. The world cannot be changed by science. The world can be transformed, changed only by human being. Right? When we are born without religion. But we are born with the need to have love, need to have compassion. So spread those practices, which is basic spirituality. So that's fine. But don't do it in the sense that, oh, Buddhism is so good, then implying that other religions are not so good. That is not healthy. That's not healthy. You should do that only with the wish to help others, nothing more, no other agenda. Then it's okay. Okay.
I think that's the perfect closing words. Thank you, Geshe-la.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Let's see if may the precious supreme bodhicitta, not yet born, arise. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. In a land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All-powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Geshe-la. Have a good evening. See you tomorrow. Thank you, Geshe-la.
Tomorrow is the last day, right?
Tomorrow is the last day, Geshe-la. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. So tomorrow is the last day. So 5:30 tomorrow, Indian time. Until then, please have a good evening, a good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. And all your questions, keep them for tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow you have the last chance. Thank you so much, everybody. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.